Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you on this hump day, July 2nd, 2025. I've got all of your stories for your rush hour ride to work. And after several weeks of being on the road on my mobile studio setup, dealing with my phantom illness, which I'm, glad to be recovering from, and seeing a bunch of supporters out there at stand-up shows, I am back at my Nashville studio. Happy to be here. On today's episode, we'll be discussing Taylor Swift as Travis Kelce does the podcast rounds and discusses his new level of fame. And then, speaking of fame, Karen Reed has signed a movie deal to tell her story. She signed her rights away, and we'll talk about kind of strategies. Hey, make money, do what you got to do. Then Blake Lively is sending subpoenas to content creators. I haven't gotten one yet, although I haven't checked my mail. We'll have to see, but I'll name who has, and we'll give their reaction. And then the big, beautiful bill passes, the Senate at least, and it is leaving so many people upset. Some studies claim it might kill as many as 50,000 people a year. How is this even possible with this self-inflicting wound? Well, I'll describe it. And speaking of the self-inflicting wound, we've got more Elon versus Donald Trump, as these lovers cannot quit quarreling. So we'll get into that. No, this is not a repeat. They are back yelling at each other online. You hate to see it, or do you? All right, all these stories and more, it all starts right now on The Rush. Well, we open with a relatively clickbait Bachelor title, Problems in Paradise. Bachelor in Paradise producers make big change ahead of new season to avoid safety scare with contestants. The big change is the fact that they're now going to be in Costa Rica and having air conditioning. Of course, when they filmed in Mexico, they didn't have AC, but now they got the Golden Bachelors, and I'm not here to say that old people like the temperature just right, but, again, no one should be subjected to heat in the summer, especially because they're cheap, right? They shoot these shows off location, right? So they shoot it. If you've ever accidentally vacationed in like Loreto or some Mexican town in the summer, trust me, you don't want to be there without air conditioning. So either way, they're going to Costa Rica and they're going to finally get some AC, but they'll be heating it up one way or another. All right, Karen Reed sells the rights to her story in a movie deal. Have a listen.
Just 12 days after she was found not guilty of mowing down her boyfriend, Karen Reed has a movie deal. She and her attorney, Alan Jackson, have sold the rights to their story, and there's already buzz about who will play her in the movie. Speculation centers on Jennifer Aniston or maybe Olivia Wilde.
Sydney Sweeney. Bring Sydney Sweeney in. I mean, does it have to look like the person? Can we do some creative? I don't know. Give me Sydney Sweeney and her lawyer will be Glenn Powell. I want them to come back.
Actress Annie Murphy of Schitt's Creek is a dead ringer for Karen Reed.
This is basically her story. It's going to be her side. I'm sure for dramatic purposes, they will introduce things that maybe aren't necessarily flattering to Karen and to Alan. But this is their project. Like, make no mistake about it.
Not guilty. Reed's trial and retrial transfix the nation.
All right, so there it is. Yeah, so I'm sure it'll be a year or so before we see the dramatic retelling of this trial. Well, I've got a dramatic podcast for you. It's Travis Kelce. He's pissed off talking about his Taylor Swift romance and all the fame that came with it. He says, now I have to use toilets. Let's have a listen.
You become an A-list celebrity. What are some things that it's been over a year since we've seen you that you're like, I miscalculated this a little bit? As far as like how much exposure, how much publicity you get everywhere you walk.
Yeah, it's just the being, I don't want to say being, it's just the paparazzi. That's probably the only thing I didn't really grasp until you're in it. And that's probably the craziest part though. Like I'm just playing golf and all of a sudden in the trees, there's a guy with a camera and you're just like,
yeah, we're in a ghillie suit.
Yeah, like, oh, like I got to go to the restroom now. I can't just go over here and take a piss.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
I can't just slug this beer right now.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Be polite. It's got to get
never been ashamed of slamming beer.
It's very interesting, too, because as a tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, he's not that famous, right? But, of course, dating Taylor Swift, she's the pop star to end all pop stars. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I don't have that level of fame, but I do have to give a shout out to the sweet, sweet lady that I met on my flight yesterday. Yeah, that's right. Your boy Dave Neal, flying JetBlue. She came up to me after we landed and said, "Are you Dave Neal?" And I said, "Am I? Is there another guy floating around who looks like me?" I believe her name was Natalie. So, hey, Natalie, I told her I'd give her a shout out. I hope I didn't mess your name up. I think it was Natalie. But she had this real cute, like aloe. I remember she was wearing like a jumpsuit. I love the style when you're traveling. And she told me that the podcast means a lot to her. And I want her to know the podcast means a lot to me too. It means a lot that people come up and say hi and find me all over the country and say they've been listening. So thank you guys so much. Every single person who listens, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here and able to do this thing. From the people that show up to my shows, no matter where I travel, to Leslie, by the way, we got home from my flight and the first thing we found a box waiting at my door. Leslie, a good audience member of ours, surprised us with a toy car, an electric car for the baby. So he's got his own wheels now. So there it is. The baby's got his own Uber. But anyhow, shout out to everyone who's just made my traveling just so sweet.
Cheers. Just don't want my on page 6. You know what I mean? It's like page 6. You know what I mean? Like you gotta go to the restroom. Boys.
This is like the first season where she's not touring.
Yeah,
and she'll be at a lot of the Kansas City games.
Yeah, I mean she tried to get to as many as she could last year, and she came to a lot. So, yeah, we'll have to represent.
You're going to
concerts
concerts and stuff too. You guys are just all over.
Yeah, we're having fun with it, man. Yeah, being a couple, dude. You already know it's.
And to the haters out there, they go, "Oh, it's publicity. They're shoving it in your face." It's like no matter what they do, they're going to get publicity for it, right? As of right now, they're at some like random town in Ohio just getting some, fish and chips, and they're getting publicity for it. So, again, it's great that they get the jet setting and all of the red carpets rolled out for them. But I have to say, it must suck. It must suck if you just want to pick your nose or be at a golf course and want to go pee off in the woods and you can't do that. I mean, tough life, right, folks? All right. Well, here's the big marquee story of the day. Blake Lively has apparently subpoenaed some big content creators. I was left off the list. I'm not big enough, I guess. I need to keep working, although I am a key witness in the Laura Owens trial, so I've got that going for me. But Perez Hilton, Candace Owens subpoenaed working with Baldoni is the question. The ongoing legal war between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has taken another turn, with notable online personalities being drawn into the fight over a possible collusion via their Blake bashing commentary. And I got to tell you, I personally reached out to Brian Friedman's office probably a couple months ago. I was going to set up an interview, and then I just realized, you know what? It was kind of when he was throttling down his public statements, and I didn't really have anything else to say, but he said nice things to me. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm conspiring to work with him. It's just like, as a reporter or as a journalist, aren't you going to try to get an interview with the lawyer who's making his media rounds? Doesn't that sound like a smart thing to do? I would love to interview Blake Lively's side, but they kind of have a different strategy. So, and whether or not there's any conspiracy happening, I don't think they're going to find anything. And to be quite honest, if you're Blake Lively and you subpoena all these content creators and what you realize is people just don't like you, that's going to be a real hard pill for her to have to swallow here. So let's go to, here we have the first reaction. This is Perez Hilton responding to finding out he is on the subpoena list.
Media, the original influencer, and allegedly I have been subpoenaed by Blake Lively. According to TMZ, today, just moments ago, they published this. Blake Lively.
All right, so there it is. So he's gloating and he's happy. And then we've got Candace Owens essentially saying, you know what? This is, I guess good for me.
I mean, I did. I pleaded. I begged. I demanded that I be allowed to partake in this Justin Baldoni lawsuit. And finally, at long last, Ryan and Blake Lively have delivered, okay? I found out from TMZ literally 2 hours ago that I have been subpoenaed. I'm not crying, you're crying. Also, I was surrounded by 20 feminists for a debate. You may have caught that with Jubilee, and it went exactly how you might have expected. Again, I am not crying, you are crying, so welcome back to Candace.
So there she is. She's happy. They're all happy. Everyone gets to be a part of the party. Now, you would think that if you had something to hide, you probably wouldn't be gloating publicly. But again, we'll have to see. Now, what could Justin Baldoni's side possibly have shared with Candace Owens or Andy Signore? I mean, Signore from Popcorn Planet. He was also on the list. I don't think there's going to be anything that comes out of this. You could look at it as a shakedown by Blake Lively to kind of tone down the content. But again, same thing. I don't see anyone changing their tone or rhetoric. I think that if anything, they might go harder on Blake as she's kind of dragging them into this legal process. The subpoenas may be connected to the judge's order earlier this month, allowing Blake to take discovery in order to uncover the alleged lengths, if any, Baldoni's side may have gone to in working with notable anti-Blake content creators as part of the alleged smear campaign. Yeah, to me, it feels like a fishing expedition. Like, what evidence do you have that he may have been working with content creators? And I guess you've got clips like this from Andy at Popcorn Planet. Basically, he got the exclusive in sharing what Brian Friedman had to say about their motion to dismiss. But that's kind of just like a press release. I'm sure Brian Friedman sent the same statement to TMZ and others, and Andy just got a hold of it first. I don't see this as any coordinated effort. Now, what would a coordinated effort look like? Well, a coordinated effort would look like, fake harassment documents that, that was on Blake Lively's side, right? But that's what, the Blake Lively side, and again, I'm not saying that there's any connection back to Blake Lively, but those fake harassment HR complaints that I guess were initially shared by Dr. Leslie Dobson. Congrats on that medical license. But those are the types of things where you would see that there's a smear because they're not true. Now, Andy just sharing what Brian Friedman had to say, not exactly anything illegal in my mind. So very strange stuff coming out of the Blake Lively camp as they, I guess, try to turn over every rock to find evidence to back up their claims. I don't think they're going to get much of it, but hey, you can look into my Gmail all you want, Blake. I'll give you the password. You're going to get a lot of spam, but that's okay. Do what you need to do. All right. Well, coming up next, we're going to dive into this big, beautiful bill that was passed. It was a giant accomplishment for the destruction of our country. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'll explain next. Today's episode is sponsored by ZocDoc. As I get older, I keep thinking I should be going to the doctor more. To deal with things like sleep trouble, neck pain, anxiety from doom scrolling on TikTok. But it can be tough to get to the doctor. I want to keep myself healthy, but the system makes it impossible to find the right guy for my needs. Until I found ZocDoc, they make it so easy to find the right fit and book an appointment fast directly on their website. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. Appointments made through ZocDoc also happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/rush hour to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/rush hour. ZocDoc.com/rush hour. Now back to the show. Okay, so the big, beautiful bill passes in the Senate. Now, doesn't mean it's going into a law yet, but it is well on its way. It is considered nuclear in the sense that it doesn't help out anybody's constituents, right? It's kind of like all of the Republicans passed this bill because Trump told them to with an artificial deadline. But what it does is it gives tax cuts to the ultra wealthy, and then they pay for those tax cuts by getting rid of programs that really literally help people survive. And also the bill still adds trillions of dollars in debt. So make it make sense. It's not helpful to really anybody. Have a listen to this.
These cuts are going to kill 51,000 people per year. The Senate just passed Trump's big, beautiful bill. It will throw something like 17 million people off of their health care. It will cost $3 trillion. It'll give $4.5 trillion worth of tax cuts for the richest people. It will cut food assistance. We're going to spend $23 billion on Trump's fucking Golden Dome project for some reason. I can't really remember being this angry at our government or how stupid it is.
There's never been a dumber bill in history. It makes no sense. It answers no questions anyone's asking. It solves no pressing problem. It makes every problem we have worse.
Now, I don't know anybody, and I truly mean this, leave a comment. I don't know anybody who thinks this bill is a good bill. And it's not like it had to get passed. It's not like, well, we had to pass something. No, they literally could have done nothing and it would have been better than the slop that they have here. What are these senators, these congressmen, what are they going to do when they have to go back to their constituents? How will they ever get elected again? Because the American people, we're not this dumb, right? We're not this dumb where we're just going to let them rob us blind, right?
It makes a recession more likely. It spends money in some of the stupidest ways possible. It's the biggest single increase in the debt in U.S. history at a time in which interest rates are jacked up. We're going to spend most of our federal budget now on debt servicing. For what end? We're not giving healthcare to a bunch of people. We're not building infrastructure. We're simply preserving tax cuts that already exist for rich people. It's a truly, truly insane, incredibly cruel, morally odious piece of shit.
Well, tell us how you really feel about it. So I'm going to play a couple of comments from people. It's a real interesting question. Why don't you just raise tax on multimillionaires? Why are they getting a cut? If you just raise the taxes on the people that have been able to profit the most, and people say, well, they worked harder. But who's defending them? Did they work harder to the extent that they should be worth 300 times or 1,000 times more than the average person?
You could raise taxes and then eat into the deficit. You could raise taxes and protect Medicaid. There are a number of Republicans who want those things. I mean,
you could do that, but you couldn't pass it.
Why not? I mean,
that's the question, right? If you propose raising the taxes on the ultra wealthy, again, we're talking people that are making $10 to $100 million or more a year, right? Not your average business owner who just finally got to the $1 million mark, but your real ultra wealthy. If you propose a bill and then your senators don't vote on that, then you'll know that they're bought and paid for by those rich people. But make them take that vote. He says, well, no one's going to vote for that. Why not? Make them vote on that.
Donald Trump at one point was saying that he would be for taxing people who make more than $100 million a year. There was a proposal that was put out by Senator Kelly. Tax people more who make more than $100 million a year. They can afford it. Why is Congress so unwilling, Republicans and even some Democrats, so unwilling, but Republicans right now, to tax people who make an ungodly amount of money more?
Well, I'll try and take that, Katie. I don't know who you're asking, but I'll try and take that.
Anyone can take it. You three can take it. Go through it. Yeah. Brian, you can start.
I give you about 10 different reasons why I think that's the case. And we should also point out that Senator Collins put an amendment during Vote-A-Rama that would tax people making more than $25 million a year as a way to try and fill some of this Medicaid gap. But I think there's two big answers. One, the biggest donors to these political candidates come from that tax bracket, and they do not want to see their taxes increased, and they will penalize any.
So it really comes down to the rich are the ones that finance the elections that, of course, put the people into office that then they have to do them favors. So we know what it's all about, right? Here's another part of the bill. We're still learning about parts of this bill, but this whole idea that we're not going to have taxes on tips and things like this. Here's Senator Chris Van Hollen exposing Trump's no tax on tips promise as a total fraud.
I support the no tax on tips provision, but people need to understand something about that. That provision in this Republican bill phases out after 3 years. It goes away, poof, gone. So the tax cuts for very rich people, they go on forever in this bill. In fact, they broke the rules. Normally they could only have them go on for 10 years. They violated the whole reconciliation process.
Now, so the fact that the Republicans have violated the reconciliation process, they have essentially played dirty in ways where they have set a new precedent. Now, I don't have all the specifics for people out there, but there are a lot of people talking about when Democrats get back into power, as they will after this, because first of all, this bill's so bad that there will be a blue wave. It's not if, it's how big it's going to be, and whether or not that leads into the next presidency and things like that. But if they are back in power, they're going to be able to use the same logic and the same precedent set by this big, beautiful bill to get Medicare for all. At least that should be the effort. Do it for good. If this is the way you have to stronghold, getting bills passed, do it for good. Get everyone back on Medicare for all, or get it in the first place. Now, this isn't going to happen overnight, and people will die before then. People will literally die before then. So here we have more thoughts on this mega bill passing.
Bill did seem like it was on the cusp of potentially being defeated. Lisa Murkowski, again, as Tim just pointed out, had a chance to be what John McCain was for Obamacare, defy his party and vote yes. What do you make of what we just saw on the floor of the Senate?
Well, obviously very disappointing for us. I mean, this is a very significant turning point. I mean, number one, we're adding $3.5 trillion to the deficit. Number two, the reason we're adding that is to pay for tax cuts, not to invest in anything. Number three, our healthcare system in this country is too expensive, very fragile. We've just weakened it dramatically. Not just folks, the 17 million who lose their access to Medicaid, but our community hospitals. Number four, utility bills are going to go up. Killing these energy projects means that the wind and solar that's provided 95% of the new generation that folks like Walmart need done. And then the nutrition programs is going to inflict hardship.
It's literally, again, I know I sound like a broken record, but it's one thing after another that's all going to be affected by this. Now, you have Senator Murkowski, who I'm going to share right here. She was the only hope that we had in our country right now for someone who was going to be the deciding vote to say enough is enough. But what she did is she did what they call carve-outs, right? She wasn't going to vote for the bill, so they said, all right, well, what can we do for you in Alaska? How can we help you get this bill passed? So all of the food stamps that they were taking away, they said, you know what? We won't take them away in Alaska. And this is just like how divided we are in our country. United we stand, divided we fall. So rather than say, you know what? No, every person deserves the ability to access food stamps if they're poor or, going through a rough patch. We should all have that social welfare for all of us. Well, no, she got it for her own state and then passed the bill anyway. A giant FU to the rest of us.
Senator Paul said that that your vote was a bailout for Alaska at the expense of the rest of the country.
Oh my.
That's what Senator Paul said.
She's staring the reporter down now. And it sounds like it was a bailout. Now, this is the senator who said she's actually physically afraid to vote against Trump because of what maybe his supporters would do. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that she voted for a bill she doesn't want. Who does she represent?
Senator, we've got the... I didn't say it, ma'am. I'm just asking for your response.
So she just... frozen.
My response is I have an obligation to the people of the state of Alaska. And I live up to that every single day. I fight for my state's interests, and I make sure that Alaskans are understood.
But specifically because of this carve-out, her fighting for her state's interests actually threw all the other states under the bus.
State that has more unique situations.
All right, whatever. She says she works hard. All right, folks, don't mind Lisa here. She works hard. Now, look, I understand every other Republican voted for this thing too, other than like one or two. So it's not just her. The blood's not just on her hands. But this isn't, this isn't your standard. Oh, I'm mad because I'm on the wrong side of the aisle, folks. people are pissed off because this is the worst bill to really ever, come through. And it's not just a bad bill, it's adding trillions in debt. When they talk about the cost to serve this debt, what they mean is the interest. The interest alone is so high on this new debt, we could have just paid for universal health care in the first place. It's like they are so willing to go out of their way to keep poor people poor. It's insane. I mean this. It's insane we haven't had a modern day revolution over this. And maybe we will.
Shaking with fury over what just happened. That's the most monstrous piece of legislation I've ever voted on in my time in Congress. What do those Republican senators go back and tell their constituents that they did? In the final speech,
Lisa tells her constituents she works hard. Murkowski.
The only thing they mentioned was the money for the border. But what more can they do? They've already militarized the border. They've already created an immigration police state. They didn't mention anything about the fact this bill kicks 17 million people off of their health care. There are going to be thousands of people who die in this country because they lose their access to health care. There'll be tens of thousands of other lives that are needlessly destroyed. This is the biggest cut in child nutrition in the history of the country, I think. They're going to be moms and dads who literally watch their children go hungry. And why? Because they wanted to pad the pockets of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago friends. That's the only reason that they are throwing people off of health care, that they are rendering little children hungry so that some billionaire can get an extra $200,000 tax cut. It's just repulsive what they did. Now, it hasn't passed the House. There is a small but not insignificant chance that we can stop this bill before it gets to the president's desk. So let's get to work.
Yeah.
Let's keep fighting.
It's going to involve a lot of work. And, Elon Musk, now he might have his own motives, has said he will finance any primaries on people who vote for this bill. So by that, I mean, if you vote for this bill, he's going to pay money to get someone in there to challenge that person, because Trump has said the opposite. If you don't vote for the bill, I'm going to have you primaried. And it's like, no man should have this stranglehold on our livelihood. Really shouldn't. So then Trump comes back, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but because it's the same thing they already did. He says, well, maybe we should send Doge on Elon Musk, and maybe we should look into deporting him. And, this idea, since Elon's a naturalized citizen. And it's like, look, regardless of what Elon's motivation is for, maybe he wants his own tax incentives or more social handouts. Now, he is the receiver of more social welfare than anybody with all of the money he's received for his companies. But with all of that said, he has a point here, which is the debt is too insane and it does nothing. Like, look, imagine you go into this much debt, but you say, you know what, we're going to be giving everybody free education, free college education, and rebuilding a bunch of bridges. Well, then you say, well, at least we'll have college-educated people. It'll add to more money in our country, and we'll have bridges we can drive across. Nope, nothing. Literally nothing other than, I guess you could argue, trickle-down economics that'll come from the rich getting richer. It's really scary out there to see this happening. And to think that people are silently, letting it happen because, hey, they voted for the guy. Let's just watch it play out. Boy, you're really leaving a bill for the next generation to pay. All right. We'll be back this afternoon to continue to talk about this crazy and wild time we're in. You can join me on Patreon this morning, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, patreon.com/Dave Neal. If you want to hear more about all of my comings and goings of the last few weeks, I feel a little bit better. I'm still sore from my illness, but I'm feeling a little bit better. So thanks to all the people that sent some nice words. We'll talk to you this afternoon. See you then. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.